Welcome to CNN 10, your objective explanation of world events. My name is Carl Azus, and we're happy to have you watching this Wednesday. North Korea did something unusual earlier this week. It fired a missile that flew over Japan, a test launch that entered Japanese airspace. The missile, which was like this one, did not hit anything. But at 6 o'clock on Tuesday morning, it was a troubling wake-up call for the Japanese who heard warning sirens, broadcast and text alerts telling them to take cover. North Korea has repeatedly launched missiles and conducted nuclear tests to provoke other countries, which consider its weapons programs illegal. But North Korea's missiles usually fall into the sea between it and Japan. So this was seen by Japan and the U.S. as a threat. Those two countries are allies, and U.S. President Donald Trump said all options are on the table for dealing with North Korea.
It left people on the northern island of Hokkaido shaken, and the Prime Minister in Tokyo angry.
The missile, which passed over our nation, represents the greatest and gravest threat to our nation ever. It also is an egregious threat to the peace and stability of the Asia-Pacific region.
Abe spoke to the media 3 times in as many hours. He also had a 40-minute telephone conversation with Donald Trump. The president, Abe said, had told him the US was 100% with Japan. They also discussed tough new action against Kim Jong-un's regime, starting with an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. It's almost 20 years since North Korea successfully fired a missile over Japanese soil without any warning. Previously, missiles had been fired from North Korea on a steep trajectory to crash back into the sea before crossing into Japanese airspace. With this provocative new move, that strategy may have changed. On the streets of Tokyo, this latest launch has come as a shock. We cannot control North Korea, but as a neighbouring country, this feels scary, says this man. I was really surprised by the evacuation warning. I thought this must be a real emergency. I feel really scared. We cannot stop North Korea. The launch came on the very day Japan was showing off its air defence hardware, the Patriot missile system, or PAC-3. Japan has conducted drills like this before, but this is the first time Japan's military has placed a system like this inside a US base. The symbolism could not have been plainer. Yokata Air Base is the home of the American forces in Japan, and having the Japanese Defense Forces in here underlines just how close they are becoming on security matters, facing a common enemy. Japan has PAC-3 batteries in several locations across the country, and as tensions rise, these types of drills are likely to become more and more common. Andrew Stevens, CNN, Tokyo.
It's been 5 days since Hurricane Harvey made landfall in southeast Texas, and the storm still hasn't gone away. Harvey's moved back over the Gulf of Mexico. Meteorologists expected it would gather more rain before making a second landfall on Wednesday. That could be near the border of Texas and Louisiana. And all this time, it's been dumping rain by the feet in Texas. U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump arrived in Corpus Christi yesterday to have a look at the damage there and to promise those who'd been affected that the federal government would help. In hard-hit Houston, some areas have recorded more than 4 feet of rain. This is a city that's seen its share of floods, but it's never seen them like this. While the Coast Guard, fire departments, police, and local officials have made thousands of rescues, civilians are pitching in as well.
You guys just jumping in to help out? Yes, sir. Yeah? Yes, sir. Where are you coming from? Texas City. Texas City? Yes, sir. What are you going to do? I'll go try to save some lives.
Want me to help her up?
My brother actually came to rescue me. Him and some other volunteer came in a boat, put my family in the back, and we walked out.
It's amazing to see that the interstate here is an interstate that's usually jammed with car traffic has essentially been turned into a boat launch for volunteers launching airboats like the one you see in front of me.
But as you can see, Cajun Navy has arrived. We got some rescues to go do right now. Seems like
They're going to be stalled here for a minute, so we're going to take some boats out and get over to where there's some families that need to be rescued right now.
Look, they're flashing the light. I think they probably want us to maybe get one of those people that's up there. We can take you guys if you need. An elderly sick person, 2 sick and disabled, and 2 in wheelchairs right now on the top of that roof. I have no idea how they got them on top of that roof. We're moving them slowly and obviously very difficult because he said he has a pacemaker on his left-hand side near his heart. So we're gonna have to steer clear of that.
Yeah, there's one more. They're gonna put him in a backpack.
Ten-second trivia. Which of these stories would have made headlines in 1890s America? Electric car debuts, Civil War ends, Theodore Roosevelt elected, Pacific Railway Act signed. Believe it or not, electric cars are not a new invention. The first successful ones date back to the 1890s. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, the heyday of electric cars was around the year 1900, when roughly 1 out of every 3 cars being driven was electric. The gas-powered Model T helped push electrics off the road, and though electric sales have been growing again in recent years, they still account for only about 1% of all new car sales in the U.S.
Since cars were invented, we've been dreaming about what's to come. Will the flying cars shown here in Back to the Future ever become a reality? Will gas still power our cars? Will we even be driving at all? For decades, Japan has been a leader in the world of cars, and now its engineers and dreamers are working to find those answers. But what's next? Many think the future is less about what we'll drive and more about how we'll power it. Engineers at a company near Tokyo think the answer is algae. Yep, this stuff. Here's the CEO having a drink of it. This microalgae works by feeding on CO2 and producing an oil which ultimately can power a car. Isuzu Motors already have a fleet of algae-fueled buses. Another benefit, you don't have to drill for this stuff. It can be farmed in seawater, lakes, ponds, any water. Meanwhile, some think we should do away with drivers altogether. This electric shuttle, which uses satellites, sensors and cameras to navigate obstacles, is already being tested in the north of Japan. But what about the big one? Flying cars. Back to the Future 2 was set in 2015, Blade Runner in 2019. So how long do we have to wait? Well, just outside Toyota City, there's a team trying to build a flying car right now. That's actually it right there. Well, a prototype.
デモフライトっていう2020年第一次目標東京オリンピックで聖火台に火を灯すっていうのを狙って活動してます。
The team is just starting out. And yeah, the test flights don't all go to plan. But that's kind of the point. There's no innovation without failure.
Spoiler alert, you can't get a hippopotamus for Christmas, but you can get a look at this baby hippo from the Cincinnati Zoo. Her name is Fiona. She recently turned 7 months old, and that's an accomplishment in itself considering she was born prematurely and couldn't nurse on her own. Today, she's doing fine. Got her own online show, she's famous at the zoo, and at more than 450 pounds, she eats like a hippo when she's not playing or swimming. Which it turns out is hippopotamus most of the time. We don't have more health information on her, they're protected by hippo laws, and we wouldn't ask her vets to break their Hippocratic oath because that's just not hip. That's all I got, y'all. I tried to do something with hippopotamus, but the animal told me it was Fio, not funny. I'm Carl Zeus, and that's CNN 10.